Do you follow the same routine day after day?
Yeah.
How's that working for you? I hear you.
Sometimes it's called marriage.
When I was in college, I had a very static routine. Freshman year, I lived in a dorm. That meant that 3 times a day, I'm eating dorm food. Now let's talk about dorm food just a little bit. First thing you should know about dorm food, I didn't have to make it, and I didn't have to clean it up. Those were good things. The bad thing about dorm food, as you probably have guessed, is it doesn't really taste like much, and there was really no danger of my gaining the freshman 15 on that diet. Well, one day, my friends and I were having lunch, and over walks the gentleman I'll call Sunshine Mike. Now let me tell you a little bit about Sunshine Mike. Maybe you've known someone like this. He was a guy who always seemed to have a dark cloud over his head. He never seemed to have energy. He was always kind of slumped over. And you always knew he was coming because he never tied his shoes. And he had these big basketball shoes. So you'd always hear this ka-clump, ka-clump, ka-clump as he was approaching. So anyway, he walks up to my table with a big tray, sets it down, greets us all very warmly. He just kind of goes, "What's up?" And then he starts to eat. He starts just to go to town. It's like this one smooth motion between the plate and his mouth. And before long, while we're still picking at our food, he's finished. And he stands up and announces to all of us, "This food stinks. I'm going to go get some more." Ka-clump, ka-clump, ka-clump. And away he went. Now let's think about that phrase. This food stinks. I'm going to get some more. How many times in our lives do we do that exact same thing? Where we're not really getting the results that we want, but we keep doing the same thing because it's become comfortable. Well, in the minutes we have together, I want to give you a few suggestions for how you can get outside of your comfort zone. As Brian said earlier, my philosophy is clear the path of all those obstacles that are holding you back. I think we've seen over the past few years, there will always be challenges. But maybe there are some things you can do to get around those obstacles a little bit better. So my name is Ken Okel. I work nowadays as a professional speaker. I spent over a decade in TV news. I was the reporter, I was the news anchor. In one spot, I was even the weatherman, talking about cold fronts coming in. Then I worked for a while in the nonprofit world, where you have to kind of sell people on a concept and not so much a product. I even spent some time as the head of a professional ballet company where the show must go on even if you don't have any money to pay for anything. And I've also worked with hurricane relief volunteers. So I've had a chance to look at all sorts of different people, see what works, see what doesn't, and that's where we're going to start. First thing I want to talk to you about, and I have to admit, this is my first booth presentation. But as someone who, is not necessarily threatening to join the Miami Heat, this is a very nice thing to have right here.
Feel like on top of the world?
Exactly. I feel a sense of power. First concept, yes, exactly. Maybe I'll get some dollars. First concept I want to talk to you is an idea about listening. Listening is such an important skill, yet we're rarely ever taught anything about it. We learn about numbers and facts and figures, but not listening. So the concept I want to give you, I try to break things down into simple phrases. Give the gift of your attention. Now think about that. So often, maybe even something like this. You're trying to pay attention to somebody, but you got devices beeping and buzzing and things are walking by. And nowadays, it's just so much going on, it's hard to pay attention to someone. And before you know it, you've missed something they've said, which can lead to a misunderstanding, a costly mistake, or maybe you burn a bridge with a customer. Give the gift of your attention to someone where you are just 100% focused in on them. Now let's take this even one step further in terms of gift of attention. Think about when you give someone a present. You don't just toss the box at them and go, "See ya." No, you want to see them shake the box a little bit. You want to see them unwrap the paper. You want to see their expression when they open it. and see what's inside. Do the same thing with someone else. Focus solely on them. If anything, you're going to score tremendous points with that person, because each one of us has a need to be heard. We want to make sure that someone's paying attention to what we have to say, even if what we have to say as the other person might be more interesting. Give the gift of attention. Next concept I want to talk about is something I call a complaint avalanche. Have you ever had one of those days where you're super busy and it seems all you're doing is putting out little complaint fires here and there? Well, back when I was running that ballet company, I had a super busy day. I'm trying to move heaven and earth to keep the ballerinas dancing, the vendors paid, and everything else going on. And all of a sudden, one of my staff walks into my office, and I could see this woman was on the warpath. Something was wrong. And she storms up to my desk, and she goes, "We have too much toilet paper, Ken." Now, normally, not a problem. I would say that's usually an issue of storage. But for this woman, that was a big problem. And she expected me to deal with that immediately. You can spend your whole day working on complaints and issues like these. So I decided to start up a rule with people, because you can have a culture of complaining emerge, where all people are doing is saying, what's wrong? The economy's bad. This is bad. There's not enough customers. What am I doing with my life? Before long, all you're doing is fielding complaints. So what I tell people, if you have a complaint, bring me a solution. That way you're empowering your team. You're allowing them to become a part of that solution. I find it's very easy to play armchair quarterback. It's a lot better to try to get people into the game. Final concept I want to talk about. Do you Facebook your customers? Now, what am I talking about? Okay. You may have noticed on Facebook that every once in a while they kind of change something. Maybe it's the size of the font. Maybe it's privacy settings. Something just changes. And you log on, you're ready to click on Farmville and your buddies and everything like that, but something's different and it's just change you're not ready for. At the end of the day, you don't want that change. Facebook is a huge company. Maybe they can get away with doing that. But make sure that you're not doing things to people that isolate them, that make them think, what's going on? What's happening? People like a certain amount of predictability in their lives. They like to know what's coming ahead. It's kind of like when we were children. We like to know that there was a routine, that we would do this to that to the other thing. So I ask you to keep that in mind the next time you have interactions with customers, when you are introducing something new to your business. To you, it might be the most exciting thing in the world, but to a lot of other people, it's a change that could make them say, I don't know. So I wanted to give you those 3 concepts today. Give the gift of your attention. Avoid a complaint avalanche. And don't Facebook your customers. Thank you so much, everyone. It's been a pleasure.